What's up, guys? You have the three Beardmigos here, and we've got another episode for you today. I'm Andy. To my right or left, we've got Ben, and then below us, we've got Josh. So,
Wait, you're Andy?
yeah, I wanted to change my persona a little today. So, we all
Okay.
switched spots.
I don't want to be Josh, so I'll be Ben, I guess.
Oh, Josh, you still get to be Josh, I guess.
Hey, this is
So,
everything.
it's okay. So, hey, we're going to hit you with some theme music. So, you ready, Josh?
Yeah.
Let's go for it. All right, so we hit you with a little food fight action, and we are actually going to have a food fight of our own right now. But, you know, that doesn't work through screens, so we're going to have to change it up a little. So what's the food fight, guys?
All right, so last day on Earth, you get to pick one meal: appetizer, main course, and
Okay.
dessert.
Okay.
What are you doing?
And we're going to debate which is the best, like, because we're clearly all going to have different things, and theirs are both going to be wrong. So who's going first?
I'm glad there's no bias in your opinion there, buddy. So,
I think the guy with the Stein goes first. That's you.
That's me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. So first off, I will be drinking out of this awesome thing you see, Mjolnir, on there. So that's cool. And I'm going to have a bottle of water, but this is going to be filled with Dr. Pepper, right? And then after that, when we get to dessert, I'll probably have some hot tea. So appetizer. I don't think any of us actually thought this through at all, did we?
No.
No. Okay. So appetizer. You can't go wrong with some fried pickles and some Southern Ranch some Southern Ranch sauce or whatever you call it, Chipotle Ranch, something like that, a little spicy. And then I'm gonna go completely unrelated.
Very wrong with that.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get into that. So main food, I'm gonna have some pizza, and this is last meal, so no need to throw a salad in there as much as a good old Caesar salad. Gonna have some pizza, and then I'm gonna have a little side of some lo mein from Chinese. I don't care if it's related. I'm gonna go for it. And then for dessert, I'm gonna have some good old dirt cake.
I can get behind the dessert, Marat.
Okay. It doesn't have to be related. It's last meal. I'm trying to get everything in. So who's
Well, what's
next?
on your pizza? What toppings?
Oh, I didn't say that. You know,
Sure didn't.
I think I'm going classic pepperoni. Like, I think I'm doing it.
That's lame.
I'm giving Ben's last meal an F in the chat.
Oh, I didn't have any sushi. Oh, okay, well, too late.
Okay.
All right, who's next?
Next.
See, I went with something cohesive, right? Like a meal that went together.
You actually put some thought into it. That a boy.
I'm not gonna take some of my favorite foods from everything and throw it in one. I think that's a cheater's way out.
No, it's not. It's not.
I think it's a cheater's way out.
But
So I think if I had to pick my appetizer. I didn't think about the appetizer, but I've got an either or. Either the cheddar spinach dip, because that's legit.
oh,
Or some pot stickers. I do enjoy a good set of pot stickers.
good. I want to change my appetizer to spinach dip. That was a good one.
I mean, you can't go wrong. Some spinach chip and dip, man, it's good stuff. My main course, I don't even know how to explain to you what this is, but probably one of my favorite meals is something we call Aunt Debbie's chicken. And so my wife's Aunt Debbie, she makes this meal, and it's chicken thighs. My wife doesn't like chicken thighs, so she makes it with chicken breast, but whatever. The original is chicken thighs with like cream of mushroom soup over top of it with stuffing, just dry stuffing mix, and then some other stuff, and you bake it. And it is by far one of the best meals I've ever eaten. Not very healthy, but I'm dying anyway, evidently. So.
Yeah, last meal, we ain't got to go healthy. So.
And then, you eat that with some mashed potatoes and corn, maybe green beans. But yeah, that's right. And then dessert, I'm gonna go with a giant piece of vanilla bean cheesecake.
So all a great choice. Just not as good as the hodgepodge that this is last meal, not, hey, that sounds amazing. Last meal food.
But I mean, my last meal, I want it to be amazing.
Yeah, well, yeah, you want it to be amazing, but you want the best. And what I picked. Sorry, Josh, you go ahead, man. You go for it.
The best. Okay, so appetizer, we're gonna go with chicken wings.
All right, I feel that. I feel that.
Solid. Can't go wrong there.
What flavor? Like, do you have sauce on it? What are we talking here?
Yeah, we're gonna have sauce. I'm thinking maybe like garlic parm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you guys are.
Last meal, you don't need to go spicy. You don't need to be impressing people. Just go with what you love.
There's this place called Ale Emporium in Indy that has wings, and they have these wings called Hermanaki, which are like teriyaki wings, but also kind of like with this special seasoning on them, and they're like the best wings ever.
So are we taking a trip to this place? Is that what I heard?
Yes. The next
As soon as we get out of our house.
Once quarantine's over, we'll take a road trip to Indy for the Beardmigos.
Ben, just come on by and pick us up on your way, bro.
We'll get some Hermanaki wings, and they're delicious. In my main course, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have to go with like pad thai because I love Thai food.
See, mixing and matching works.
Yeah, pad thai because it's just delicious. It's a whole mix of flavors and a little bit of spice. I don't have to worry about the after effects of eating pad thai.
Come on.
Because I'm gonna die anyways. So it's great. And then for dessert, I'm gonna get a big old slice of key lime pie.
So what I'm hearing is you're gonna pad thai, key lime pie, and then go die.
Yes.
Yeah. That was.
This is why we can't have nice things.
So we all picked a great meal, and I would happily eat any of that. But here's the thing: this was a food fight. So you guys have to vote who had the best last meal, A, B, or C, and then you guys tell us who won that. Who won the food fight?
Because this is a bunch of high schoolers. They're gonna take pizza.
Oh, we got all ages. It'll balance out. So, yeah. How does that segue into? Yeah. Going A. I don't even know how to do A. That probably doesn't look like an A. So, who cares?
So
how's this?
What are we
I
gonna
don't
do?
know how to make a B. That does not look like a B at all.
I don't know. Okay. What we're gonna do our last day on Earth. What would you do?
Oh yeah. So because we got a few topics we're covering today, so we were also gonna say, how would you spend your last day on Earth?
What would
That one could be pretty long.
Like if you could go one place on your last day on Earth, like the movies, theme park, or whatever, where would you go?
That changes.
I have an idea. How about we give ourselves a little time to think on that, and we come back to that right before.
Hey, I'm just gonna throw this out in case my wife actually listens to this. Any place with her.
Aww.
He was forced to say that.
He's trying to make up for something. Like he's in trouble.
I don't think she's gonna listen to this because she hates listening to me talk. But just in case she's listening, any place with her.
You forget your anniversary again, Andy?
Do what?
Get your anniversary again?
Now, dude, we made my anniversary forgetful, like not forgettable, because it is June 6th June 7th of 2008. So I got ahead of myself. June 7th of 2008, which is, say it with me, 6, 7. You can't forget that unless you forget how to.
I mean,
you can't forget that unless you forget that, like you just kind of did. But that's okay.
I got my 6s in the wrong spot.
Oh, okay.
I hope she doesn't watch this now. So.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay. Last day on Earth, I'd pick up Rachel. I don't know why I'd pick her up. She lives in the same house as me. But I would pick up Rachel, and we would go watch a Memphis Grizzlies game. Yeah. I'd carry her on my shoulder because last workout. So we'd go watch a Memphis Grizzlies game. Then we'd hit the Memphis Zoo. Then we'd loop back through Kentucky, see my familia, and be like, hey, my last day, you guys should probably treat me awesome, and make me happy. And then me and Rachel would go home and we'd watch some Harry Potter. And then,
And
and then I would croak. And I'd croak, yeah. So
you're a Grizzlies fan, huh?
Oh, big time, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And the good thing is they've never won anything, so no one can call me a front runner.
I'm a big John Morant fan, so I got
bandwagon.
What do you say, Josh?
A bandwagon.
Yeah, bandwagon, front runner, same thing.
I mean, either way, he can't say he's a front runner. He's a Grizzlies fan.
Exactly, because we've never been in the front. Ha! Oh.
Ain't that the truth? Where would I go for my last day on Earth? Oh, man.
Good thing we thought this through ahead of time, right?
Well, since my wife isn't listening, I'd probably go and pick her up on my shoulders, get in the car, and head to Cooperstown, New York to go through the Baseball Hall of Fame, stop in New York City and do something that she would want to do, and then hit a zoo.
Nice.
I think I'd go to a big city. Yeah, like New York or LA or Chicago and just explore the city. Not Chicago, I've explored that. But New York, explore it, see all the sights, eat some good food.
Would you want to be alone, or would you need some peeps there with you?
I mean, I might bring my friends or Emily or something,
I was about to say, I know Emily watches this, so you might want to go ahead and just throw her in there with you.
Josh, we're all carrying people on our shoulders. You got to have.
Put her on your shoulder, man.
I ain't working out on my last day on Earth, losers.
You're like, they can carry me on their shoulders.
I'm using my credit card that I don't have to pay off anymore to get all kinds of cool.
Yeah.
Uber limo. Yeah.
That's solid. That's a solid response.
Yeah.
All right, so we bring all this up to talk about something that's the last stuff, right? And so I just broke a crayon on accident. That's exciting.
The last crayon.
I'm just excited. I'm just happy that you have crayons on your desk. Like, that's really cool.
Children's minister.
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
So, this week is Holy Week, and we talked Palm Sunday last week, and so we kind of wanted to go into what leads up to and past Black Friday. Ugh, Good Friday.
Do it again.
Did it again.
Oh, man, I did it again.
We were talking pre-episode when we were prepping how crazy it would be if Black Friday actually happened during a worldwide pandemic. It may be crazy. So anyway, but we're talking about Good Friday.
Good Friday, not Black Friday. And so how that affects us and what we can get out of just the story of Good Friday. So.
And we do prep. We're being honest. We do spend a little bit of time prepping.
Not a lot, but enough.
So we're going to be looking at Holy Week. We're focusing on Jesus like usual, and we're going to be looking at what his last meal was and how did he spend his last amount of time, his free time that he had per se. So first up came Last Supper. So
Well,
I think
there was something before the Last Supper.
Go for it.
So when they showed up, right, for the Last Supper, they showed up to his house.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the servant wasn't at the house. And the servant was the guy that normally washed everybody's feet. Because if you don't know this, right, when they ate back then, they would recline. So your feet would be next to the face of the dude sitting next to you on the couch.
Wait, so they all didn't sit on the same side of a table?
They would, but they'd all be like reclined on their side, and they'd kind of eat like this.
Well, someone pull up the Last Supper picture. Let's go. You keep going, Josh.
But so they would all be eating like that, and so having your gross, nasty feet in someone's face without it being clean was a party foul. And so they had a servant that it was their job to wash people's feet. And that's usually like the lowest of the low, the servants.
Mm-hmm.
No one there, so everyone's kind of standing around being like, well, who's going to wash everybody's feet? And then Jesus, right, starts taking off his clothes and gets down and he gets the water and he starts to wash his disciples' feet. Right? This is the guy who on Sunday, the week before, had just ridden in on a donkey and had the disciples lowering their coats in front of him and people with palm branches singing his praise,
Mm-hmm.
Hosanna, Hosanna. And now here he is on his hands and his feet, washing the disciples' feet.
So, and then on our last episode, we talked about Palm Sunday and how Jesus showed humility in that, right? He took the donkey over the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And that's the creepiest thing I've ever seen because your head is just floating.
Background doesn't work too well. So what we're saying is,
that's not
as great as this painting is, not quite right on how they sat, right?
Yeah, it's not a historical.
Go ahead and take that off. They get the point.
Please.
Okay.
But not only did Jesus take the route of humility when he came in on the donkey, he also took a huge route of humility when he stepped in to wash the disciples' feet.
So it was a consistent thing in his life, was humility no matter the situation, and that's something we need to be taking with that. So,
I mean, it was even weird for the disciples because there was one of them that was like, "You're not touching my feet," like just
yeah.
Any guess on who that one was?
Bartholomew.
Put your guess in the comments.
Well,
it was not Bartholomew.
It was not Bart. Who do you think it was? Guess. And then in 10 seconds, Dan will tell us who it was.
You're gonna put me on the spot so that I look stupid in front of everyone. Well, guess what? I always look stupid. I mean, anytime there's something ridiculous, you just gotta guess Peter, right?
Yeah. Nailed it.
Congratulations. And then Peter, after Jesus is like, if I don't wash your feet, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. Then Peter's like, then wash my whole body.
It's bath time.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Rub a
just
dub
sitting
dub,
like,
Peter's in
dude,
the tub.
way to make it awkward. What are you doing, man?
Peter's the guy in the Bible. You're just like, huh? Really? And then he's also the guy that Jesus is like, on this rock, I'll build this church. My church. It's you, Peter.
Yeah.
And you're like, that guy? Really? But,
that just shows that you can screw up and Jesus still loves you.
Yeah, you never know what Peter you get. Do you get the one who's like, hey, who invited this guy? Or do you get the one who like gives this awesome lesson about Jesus and converts?
I'm definitely Peter
so.
when it comes to certain things, but it's generally the who invited that guy.
Are you the Peter that pulls his random sword out and cuts some random dude's ear off? And then Jesus is like, whoa, calm down.
No, Spoiler alert.
I don't fight, I run.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, that's next episode, Josh.
Oops.
My bad.
All right, so that's before the Last Supper. Jesus washes the disciples' feet. They all go in. They're sitting down. They're eating the Passover meal because that's what this was. It was a Seder dinner kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And we want to give you guys some points of reference where you can read from to follow along. So we have a few passages throughout we'll be going into to kind of set the tone for each thing. So, Andy, did you have the first passage? Is that right?
Yeah, so we're in Matthew 26, and we're talking about the Lord's Supper. And so now as they were eating, Jesus took the bread, and after blessing it, broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, take and eat. This is my body. And he took the cup, and when he had given thanks over them, he said again, drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many of the forgiveness of sins. I tell you that I will not drink again of this fruit and vine until the day that I drink it with you in my Father's kingdom.
Dope. It's a good passage.
I mean, could you imagine the confusion on the disciples' face?
Yeah.
He hands them a piece of bread and he's like, hey, this is my body. And they're like, what?
This is my blood. Vampires.
Like first Peter got all weird, and now we're eating flesh. This is a weird night.
Hashtag cannibalism. Right,
That's
so
interesting to think. Oh, so go ahead.
And they knew something was going to happen, but I don't think they comprehended. Well, I know they didn't comprehend.
Well, Jesus has been talking about this for a while, right? He's been saying, I'm going to go to Jerusalem and the Son of Man is going to be destroyed. Right? The Son of Man is going to be killed. And they're all like, oh, no, it can't happen to you. That won't happen, Jesus. You're dumb. And Jesus is like, nope, I'm going to go to Jerusalem. They're going to kill me, and I'm going to be dead for 3 days. I'm going to come back. And they're like, oh, no.
They didn't pay attention to the spoilers.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Jesus is a really bad spoiler guy. He's like, hey, I'm going to die. And they're like, oh, no, you're going to live forever. But I think it's really important for us to, we take communion a lot. If you go to one of our churches, you probably take it every Sunday. And it's really easy for us to kind of run past it. We think about the remembering Jesus. You eat the bread and you remember the cup, and we talk about the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about Jesus' death. And that is an important part of the Lord's table, is the remembrance. But it's also the symbolism, right? Jesus is making a new covenant with us, and the bread and the fruit of the vine is the symbol of that covenant. Do one of you guys want to just explain quickly what a covenant is?
Yeah, covenant is it was almost like a legal binding thing. It was a promise that was binding, so that there's no getting out of it. It's like a promise, but well, in this instant, it's a promise between you and God, right? That He's keeping His end of the bargain, no matter what. That is what it is. So.
Yeah, and the old covenant was in the Old Testament that was signified by something else that you can ask your mom about. We won't go on to that on the pod. But this new covenant is symbolized through the bread and the juice, and also through baptism. All three of these things are the signs of the new covenant. And so what's happening here is the promise that the blood and the juice provide. And we're going to talk more about the blood and the juice. Well, no, the blood and the body.
Mm-hmm.
Next podcast when we talk about Good Friday. But we want you to be thinking about it. It's not just bread and juice. It symbolizes more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
go ahead.
a lot of times we lose reverence. We go through the motions. We just kind of are doing it because it's what we do, right? We don't think about why we do it. And so I think it's important.
Checklist. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that the next time we're together, right, we can take communion together. I don't know about you guys. We're encouraging our body to take communion at home.
Yeah.
So, but I think the next time that we're together, like it needs to be, and it should be reverent at home too. Don't take this the wrong way, but there needs to be some emphasis put on it. This is why we do this. We at Agape, we always give a short time of meditation and like confession, right? Where you do your business with God to get right, to make sure that you're not taking it improperly, or I can't think of the unworthingly, or I can't think of the word right now. But we give you that short time of reflection to do business with God, to make sure that you're in the right mindset for this. Because if you on your phone playing games throughout the sermon, texting your friends stuff that probably shouldn't be texted, and then you take it, like, are you taking it in a worthy manner? Don't just go through the motions to go through the motions, because you want to make sure that your mom thinks that you're walking the way you should walk.
Right. Yeah, and we view it as a checklist. It's part of what, as a Christian, I need to make sure I'm doing. I'm taking this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. We got to get those checklists off. And it really is, it's the reminder of the covenant. I think of covenant too, and there's a lot of different things that come to mind. I think of people wear a wedding ring,
Absolutely.
This is our reminder of the promise we've made, of the bond that we've made because of this. And people get like almost anxious about, like, okay, am I going to have some sort of bread to take? Am I going to have some sort of fruit of the vine to drink? And really you're taking those so that you're remembering exactly what happened. And once again, that is a little bit more for next episode, but I like the thought of remembering that this is something to remind that Jesus died for us, and that He was bringing something in new and better. So,
yeah, it's all about just the sign of the promise. That's a word that the Bible uses often about covenant. Sign of the promise. But that's not the only thing that happens at the Last Supper, right? There's also some more Peter shenanigans, right? Somebody want to talk about those real quick?
Well, right before they sat down to eat, verse 21 of Matthew 26, or it says, while they were eating, he said, I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me. And that kind of sets up some tension. Like that, you think about that. Yeah, you're sitting in a room full of people who love each other, who spend a lot of time together, and someone just sits down and they're like, one of you is going to betray me. One of you is not going to be there for me. And
everybody's instantly mad at everybody else because they know it's not going to be them.
Pointing fingers.
They're looking at the person beside them.
Except Judas. He knows.
Judas is like, man, I hope nobody picks me. Oh,
yeah.
He's like, that Peter guy, it's him.
Yeah. So there's that.
Peter gets a little whiny, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. There's that already. Looking at there's got to be some tension in the room of people being like, wait, who's the betrayer here? And then going on, says Jesus predicts Peter's denial, and he basically tells Peter, hey, you're going to be the one who's going to deny me when the time comes around. Verse 33 and 34, Peter declared, even if everyone deserts you, I will never desert you. And Jesus replied, I'll tell you the truth, Peter. This very night before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times that you even know me. And that's, once again, go ahead.
Could you imagine being one of the other 11 disciples in that room and seeing Jesus put Peter on blast like that?
Yeah.
Like, woo!
Yeah. That's crazy.
getting real, folks.
And then to Peter, you're like, I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. And then as we're going to talk about later, spoilers, he did it. He'd do it.
Yeah.
And he does it well, is the sad part.
And the first time Jesus looks right at him and is like, hello, Peter.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Andy
I mean, Peter, oh no, Andy, come back. We're gonna assume he's gonna get that figured out. You know what? At least he's frozen, smiling. He looks so happy in this moment.
Okay, I'm back. What happened? What I missed?
I don't know. I really liked Frozen, Andy.
You froze just like this. You're like,
that's probably the best picture you'll ever get.
Yeah, someone yelled, Andy's here, and Andy was like, hey, wait, that's me, and he froze like a toy on Toy Story. But yeah, anyway, your pose was great. We really enjoyed it. So, but Peter, he gets a hard time because he was rash. He would act without thinking a lot. He'd just jump into action. He did a lot of amazing things. He was someone you could always count on to be there supporting Jesus. So it really does seem crazy that of all the people that Peter was going to be the one to deny him, because if looking at the apostles, without any prior knowledge, I would think he'd probably be the one that I would think, no, he'd be there with him through thick and thin, and he'd be up in the people's face about how there he was, So it's crazy to think that wasn't going to happen. But I think that makes him relatable. Think about people you love in life, and would you ever deny having a relationship with them? Would you ever deny how much you love them? And we'd say, no, of course not. That's what Peter said, He's a very relatable character.
And I know we've already talked about a lot, but that's not the end of Jesus' night. He has this supper, he eats with his disciples, he gives this new symbol of the new covenant, and then he's like, okay, hey guys, I need to go pray.
Mm-hmm.
He's a busy fella.
So he doesn't take them all, but he takes a couple of his disciples with him to the Garden of Gethsemane.
Mm-hmm.
And he prays a prayer that I think is really interesting. And I think Ben has that one pulled up, right?
Yeah.
I really want you guys to listen to this prayer because it's really powerful for us to think this is Jesus praying this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Ben,
just quick recap. We started off asking, hey, what would your last meal be like? Jesus' last meal, pretty plain, but lots of humility, and he spent time with people he loved. Now we're looking at, hey, how would you spend your last day? How are you spending your free time? Like Josh said, he chose to pray. This is Matthew 26, starting in 36. It says, then Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane. And he said, sit here while I go over and pray. He took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little farther, and he bowed his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. And then going on verse 42, Jesus a second time said, "My Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will be done."
That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, we really want you to understand just how poignant and how powerful this prayer is of Jesus. We often talk about how Jesus is God, right? But part of the dual nature of Jesus is that he's also fully human, right? And it's a human nature to not want to suffer, right? Like if I told you I was going to hurt you, you're probably going to be like, no, please don't hurt me, right?
Rather not.
And so Jesus is God, right? Jesus knows what's coming. He knows that the cross is coming, and he knows we're going to talk. Huh? Go ahead.
He's been talking about it for a
Yeah,
while now.
he's been talking about it. He knows what's coming. We're going to talk about it on our next pod about how painful and terrible the cross is. But Jesus has a moment of humanity, right? He's like us, and he says, "Lord, my soul is crushed. Lord, if it's your will, take this cup from me. Like if there's any other way to save these people besides the cross, then take it. If not, your will be done."
Yep. You see a lot of real raw emotion in this. You see fear, you see anxiety, you see just dread. Like that's the word that keeps coming to mind. You imagine something you just dread. You don't want it to happen. You know what it's going to be. Andy, what you got? I see.
Yeah, I was going to say that in itself makes Jesus so much more relatable than most other religions, right? He spent his whole life in humble service in some way, shape, or form, right? And then this happens, and instead of like he could have came any way that he wanted to come, and he chose to come in a barn, in the stables. He grew up not really well off, he wasn't an uber rich guy, and then always was looking to do what God wanted, up until the point that he was like, dude, I'm not looking forward to this if we can change it. He went through all the same emotions that we would go through, right? We have people who suffer from anxiety, from stress, from depression, loneliness, all of this. Jesus is feeling all of those right now. And it would have been so easy for him to be like, no, I'm out. I'm done. We're not doing this. Let's think of a different way. And which is what he wanted. But then at the end of that, he was like, you know what? Just do what needs to happen.
Well, and in Luke 22, verse 44, I think this is a really powerful example of just how how real it is. He said, Luke writes, in being in agony, he was praying very fervently, and his sweat became like drops of blood falling down upon the ground. He's like, Jesus is legit. He's scared. Scared of what's coming.
Right.
But one of my favorite passages of all Scripture, I forget the exact quote, but it says, and for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Jesus understood, one, that it was God's will. That's that second part of the prayer that Ben read, then your will be done, not mine. But also he knew about me, and he knew about Ben and Annie, and he knew about you. And he knew that the cross would bring us life. And so for the joy set before him, he endured the cross.
You know what the end product was.
Hebrews 12:2, by the way.
What is it?
Hebrews 12:2.
Okay. There you go. I get my references mixed up sometimes, so I avoid quoting the numbers in case it's wrong.
Yeah. I think it's really important to look at that prayer. And first off, look at this is how much Jesus valued spending time talking with God, having conversation with God, being with God, is because that's how he was spending his last few hours. This is what I'm going to go do. And we think about last day on earth. all the fun things I'm going to do. Who am I going to surround myself with? And he made sure to surround himself with people he loved, right? But he also,
you not go to Disney.
Yeah, right. He said, you know what? Let's spend time with God. Let's bring that in. And just looking at the fact that he said, it's your will, not mine. If anyone throughout all of history had the right to say, I want my will done, it was someone who had lived their entire life being a servant and living for other people. And still at that point where none of us would have blamed him for wanting to do things his own way, he looked and said, nope, God, it's your way. I know what you've got is what needs to happen. And we got to look for that to reflect in our life when we pray. Are we asking for God's will to happen, or are we asking for what we want to happen? Josh, I can see something on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ben just raised a really good point. You know, Jesus is literally the only person who ever lived that was without sin. He was the only person who didn't have the punishment of sin as death on his shoulders. And so to submit to the will of God and to die anyways that is the sacrifice of the cross, right? He took our place. It wasn't his, right? But he submitted to the will of God.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the point that Ben's trying to hit, right? Are you submitting to the will of God? Are you praying for the will of God? Or are you just praying for what you want? Are you treating God like a vending machine? Or are you treating God like your Lord?
Well, I bring that up to my youth group a lot when we talk about prayer. Is oftentimes prayer is that vending machine. Hey, God, thanks for this, but I need, A7, B12, and C32. And then we put our money in and we hang up, right? We get our stuff. We get what we want out of it. We get everything off our chest. We hang up and we go to bed, or we eat dinner, or whatever it looks like. But we don't leave that response time, right? Prayer is a two-way street. You have to listen and bring that nudge in. Let God move you in the direction he does. So,
one of the things that changed my opinion of prayer, when I was in high school, I would go to my parents' small group, not small group, like their Sunday school class at church. And they would always, it didn't matter what they were praying for. If they were praying for someone to be healed, or if they were praying for, a missionary or whatever, they would always say, like, Lord, please heal Andy. Your will be done, not ours. Like they would say that after every prayer request. Like, Lord, if it is your will, please be with this missionary. Lord, if it is your will, please do that. And it really changed my opinion on prayer, because it was more not me asking God for things. It was this submitting to God's will. Like, you're asking, but you're also acknowledging that it's his choice. He's not going to do it because I ask. Right? Jesus asked, Lord, take this cup from me. But he also said, if it's your will, right? He could have demanded, like, hey, I'm not doing this. Like, I changed my mind. I want to live. But he didn't. He submitted to the will of God and his love for us. And so how are we praying? That's the question.
That makes me think of, that discussion makes me think of two really great songs. And we don't have to do songs every week, but there's just two that come to mind. And I like the thought of us being able to worship from home. It says, Thy Will by Hillary Scott and the Scott Family, and Greater Things.
Good song.
Oh, yeah. Super good. And once again, got to be coming from that. And then Greater Things by Mac Brock. And once again, that talks about what Josh was talking about earlier. It says, you never fail, you never will. I trust your name for greater things, and there's something great coming from it. And Jesus knew, I'm trying to remember how you worded it, Josh, but he knew there was the joy coming, basically, of our safety. And anyway, two great songs you can check out and kind of worship with this week that are really coming to mind with the discussion we're having. So.
Yeah, so I guess my final thoughts on all of this week is you're preparing for Easter Sunday, and we all get excited about Easter. I'm excited about my kids' lesson this week. talking about candy and whatnot, but if you take the Lord's Supper, right, don't just take it out of habit. Think back about what we've talked about today, about what you've read about over the last couple weeks, and how it should be taken. The reverentness. Is that a word, reverentness?
It is now.
Reverent would probably be the better word.
Yep, we're going to go with reverentness.
Okay.
Reverentness it deserves, right? That
Kentucky word for it.
there was so much humility, and there was, and it was you doing it as an act of remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you guys, but when I remember things that were great, like great gifts that were given to me, I get excited.
Emotional reaction.
Yeah, and so not only am I excited about this gift that's been given to me, right? I remember the price that gift was.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he went and had some blood drawn and they pricked his finger, right? And they swabbed some skin cells. Now he gave it, willingly went through the beating, and we're going to talk about that later this week. But as you take communion, just remember that and don't do it out of habit.
And I just want to leave off with this. All throughout the Bible, you can see this idea of Jesus as the suffering servant. And I think that should be the way we should live our life, as the suffering servant. And that goes back to what we talked about last week, humility versus pride and hubris. Our world is all about pride and hubris and, about not suffering. But if we want to be like Christ, we have to be willing to be a servant, and we have to be willing to suffer. It's not always glory to help people. It doesn't always make you feel better, make your life better. But Jesus said, Lord, if it's your will, then I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to endure the cross for the joy set before me. Could we live our life like that, where we, for the joy of helping people and loving people and leading people to Christ, endure our own cross? That's what Jesus did. He was a suffering servant. He was humble. He died a death that he didn't deserve. And we're going to talk more about that later. But we just want you guys to be thinking about this as we, like Andy said, as we approach Easter,
Mm-hmm.
we approach Good Friday. Just think of Jesus as the servant, the suffering servant. And any final thoughts?
Yeah, guys, thanks for stopping by, hanging out with us today. Make sure, answer the questions in the comments. Tell us who won our food fight. Tell us what you would do with your last time. If you have any questions or comments on something we read about or something that was said, we love interaction. Give us any ideas you have for topics or any people you'd love to see on the pod with us. And we love you guys. Complete the heart, right?
Don't forget, like and subscribe. Also, send this link to someone that you think could benefit from it, okay?
Share it around. Love you guys.
Beardmigos.
Love you.
We are.